You basically have to like look at the benefits.
I've actually done this.
The benefits of having institutional recognition at your university, they vary widely. At some institutions, it's just like, okay, you can have a meeting space, and that's basically it. Others will give you funding. Others will help you make posters. Others will help you like do a lot of things that you may not be able to do on your own, and that's why in those cases, recognition is more important. Also, having a web page, having like the official university website say, look, this is a group, and we sponsor this, and we allow for it to happen. Another example here at Brown, like maybe they don't sponsor the mission statement itself, but they allow for that to happen on campus.
Although I will put in a plug for even if you put it this way, CV in CV's history they've had to the group has had to distance itself from the university on several situations and originally this was because they wanted to be not so insular, as exactly as Vicky was talking about, because as though with the group recognition of being under the Columbia banner, they got and still get often like, can other students from other universities come? Well, the answer to that is yes, and it says so very clearly, but on the website. But even so, there's confusion there. So sometimes you want to distance yourself for other reasons that are because the academic framing actually has problems.
Totally fair. All right.
The question was, how do you do it if you don't want to register?
Right.
And I want to go back to that and say that a lot of the things that we were talking about are not things you can't get access to yourself. Classrooms are often not locked until, 10 p.m. or something. So even if you don't officially reserve a classroom, you get access to meeting space. You can certainly buy a website, buy hosting space, put up a website. You can use Facebook. You can create Google groups. You can do a lot of the networking stuff that you would have access to through the university, in other ways and tools, and those tools exist now.
Also,
you can poster without the university recognition, right?
Also, you can do a lot more than you think without funding, without money. Take a look at this.
All right, well, it looked like there's a couple more things I want to make sure we hit more points rather than talking for a while on each question. Could we talk about, we did a little bit of media. Let's try confidentiality. How have you guys dealt with confidentiality in your groups in the past?
That's changed so much.
Yeah.
When I was an undergrad at MIT 10 years ago, I was given the responsibility, and why they gave this to me, I have no idea, of maintaining the uber secret list of all of the queer students in Cambridge. There was a special server that was set up. No, really, there was a computer whose only purpose was to run the lists that went out for queer events at MIT and Harvard. And you had to email me, and I had to put your name on this list, and then you would get the email, and I got a stipend from the school to do this.
Wow.
These days, a lot of the technology is, there are limitations to it, but something like Facebook, a lot of universities have their own setups that handle a lot of that confidentiality for you.
Conversion Agreement is also exceptionally careful with that. I have mostly volunteered my technical ability as a professional web developer, and so we actually maintain our own database list of users and names, and we actually make sure that that's not anywhere in any other system. So it's not in a Google Doc anywhere, it's not on the university's systems, it's in our own private store. You need typically some either finance or helpful volunteers to do that for you, but even in meetings, the group is still exceptionally closed. It is open to the public, but with the caveat that it is not for recordings. It is not. It is a confidential space, and it's very explicitly a confidential space. But that doesn't mean that people who go there don't also see each other in other places that are not confidential spaces. So they make a very clear distinction of what are and what is not confidential.
Okay, so what do? You talked a little bit about people actually showing up. How do you make sure that you don't get one nasty kid who walks in and decides to make everybody else's life miserable? Is there a way you can do that, or is that just responsibility you guys can't take as organizers?
I think reaction is much more important in this sense than prevention. It's not a disease. It's not a situation where you have to deal with it like a scientific method. This is far more art than it is science. If someone is intent on giving you trouble, then the way you respond to that is a lot more telling and has a lot more potential benefit than trying to prevent that ahead of time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. How about funds? Especially if you're not involved in the university
university? How do you guys get funds? Do you get funds? Is what you're saying, what you've mentioned as far as like events like this, you don't need funds?
I mean, you can. Oh no, go. Oh, okay. You can do a lot without money, and you can do something like this without money. You can write posters on boards and go stand outside and wave at cars without more than $2 to get the posters and the Sharpies. But for some sort of things, you do need money, and when money is what you want and you don't have access to the academic framework, you may have people with jobs. You may be able to convert labor into money. I mean, there's all the car wash, the bake sale. It's corny, but you get money out of doing it.
All for keep the big sales.
And you may be lucky enough to be able to reach out to alums or other people or community organizations that aren't attached to universities and say, hey, I'm trying to start this organization. You're involved in this other organization. Can you give us a helping hand?
And as much as is made of poor students, depending on how much money you're looking for, there are, in most universities, students whose parents are supporting them, whose parents have reasonable funds, and who wouldn't mind giving you $50.
All right, well, we are just about out of time, but I want to ask you one more question.
Can I say one more thing about that funding thing? Make sure people know what you're spending your money on. They will not give you money if you do not tell them what you're spending their money on.
Keep the receipts.
All right, so I want to ask, okay, this is a little bit about forwarding your goals, and also okay, you want to have this group. You want it so much that you've decided to be the one to have the group. What do you do in front of a room full of people? How do you lead your group? How do you start your conversation? Just a quick hint from all of you, I think would be really helpful to anybody out here who wants to do this.
Pre-visualize.
Pre-visualize.
Like literally try and see in your mind's eye what is going to happen when you do it.
Okay.
Have a very specific topic that everyone can leech onto at first. Like, we are doing this in a structured, organized way with this structured, organized topic. Now we are sitting in a group, and I'm going to ask you a question, and you guys are going to respond. I mean, whatever you're doing, but have some structure at the beginning.
Have some kind of timeline for after the meeting's done for where things are going from. It's like, okay, we had a great first meeting. Now what's this group doing from here?
Great.
I would say tell people what they're going to get out of the existence of the group and their membership in it. I mean, people are going to be more excited in working at it if you can say, by doing this, you will get blah.
And finally, I guess, outreach to other groups as well. Like they talked about, helping you raise funds when you may not have your own. Reach out to other groups with similar goals or goals that somehow merge with yours, and then ask them for help and ask them for even advertising.
Yeah, see the connections between groups that already exist. There are over 5 million NGOs in the world, I learned the other day, and most of them don't know that neighboring NGOs are actually ones that are aligned to their goals, because it turns out geography has a really important impact on what people think is important to them. So most of the groups that you find, that most of the things that you care about, it turns out a lot of people are nearby.
True.
Just doing that the other day.
Can I have one thing to that list?
Sure.
Don't forget why you're there. Don't forget the people. Don't forget the human part of it, because that's what you're going to walk away with in the end. So don't forget the connection, people, person to person.
That's a really good point. I actually, I know I ran this as a panel, but I actually did start and attempt to run for several semesters a student group, and I am ever so pleased to hear that it is being started up again after a bit of a demise. Anyone will tell you, well, few people will tell you, people might not know, I'm not actually the most organized. I didn't have everything together for today. I am not with the lists and the technology all of the time, but I'm good at talking to you guys. And I like talking to you guys, and I'll remember your names. And that's the only reason I'm any good at this. Ooh, May has one more thing to say, and then we have to do closing comments.
Okay, also let people do what they want, because people will be better at that.
Don't force people into boxes.
Yeah, no boxes, people. Except for the cardboard box.
Unless they want it.
All right. And I think that's it. That was our last little Unpanel, and now it's going to be me,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got you there.
That was very innovative.
Very innovative.
Maybe
Wonder where I
just
got
say
that
no
wacky
boxes
idea.
or no boxes.